Welcome, everyone. You've joined the Tech Voices Spotlight series. I'm Rohini Kumarasinghe, Head of Delivery and Customer Experience at Insighture and a board member at DCLK. At Diversity Collective, we do a lot of work across the Sri Lanka tech space to create a more diverse environment that is welcoming to all. And we do this across four main pillars. That is the school pillar, the higher education pillar, career corporate, and entrepreneurship. And this particular event you've joined, the Tech Voices Spotlight Series, showcases some of the amazing work done by women across Sri Lanka tech. And today we have Fernando. Thilini is an energetic and enthusiastic Associate QA Automation Lead at Nimi. She has over 7 years of experience. She also has a bachelor's degree in information and communication technology from Rajarata University. She is passionate about learning and practicing the craft of QA and automation in particular. Today, she'll be talking about the very important topic of building trust, and particularly in the new normal. So Thilini, really pleased to have you here. Let me hand over to you.
Thank you, Rohini, for the introduction. Let me share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Thilini.
Okay. So today I'm going to talk about building the customer trust in the new normal. So after COVID-19, we all shifted to a working from home routine. And when we are adapting to a remote or in a hybrid environment, we face lots of challenges. So one of the major challenge we faced is building the customer trust. So I will talk about the importance of building the trust and what are the challenges we faced and how we can overcome these challenges. So first of all, what is customer trust? So the customer trust is the faith that your customer has on you and your organization, and it shows the organization's commitments to deliver its promises and do the right thing for the customers. So when we talk about the customer trust, that is we have a direct major impact on how we collaboratively work with each other in a same team. So in most of the cases, the poor communication is the reason number one for the poor collaboration. So when we are building the trustworthy environment, the first thing we need to take is the building the and improving our communication. So when we are moving to a remote or hybrid environment, our employers and our customers started to realizing how important it is to build the customer trust. And once you build the trust, then your work become easier and it is less stressful because your customers won't follow up much on your work, and they will not micromanage you. But in a stressful environment, it has a major impact on your the individual work and the overall team performance. But on the other hand, when you are having a trustworthy environment, that means the trust goes in both ways. That means you keep your trust with your customer and your customer also trust in you. So when you have that synergy, then it will your customers will allow you to make your own decisions and new initiatives, and also you have the courage to make them for your customers. And your communication will be easy, and you don't want to convince much your customer when you do some impactful changes to your projects. So if you are, let's say if you are afraid of making mistakes and if you are afraid of the failures, then you won't be innovative and creative, and you won't take new initiatives because you don't want to take a risk. But in a trustful environment, you will be more innovative, and it will open up new opportunities for you to growth, and it will help to overcome the uncertainties. And overall, it will help to improve the brand loyalty. So that means the customers will like to stay with us when they have the trust in us. And also as employees, we also like to stay with the customers for a long time who has the trust in us. So if I talk about the challenges in a remote or hybrid environment, in most of the time we had these engagement issues. But these engagement issues can be only the symptoms, but the actual issue is not the engagement or disengagement, it is the distrust. And as I said, there are some communication issues, and these communication issues will lead to the poor engagement issues. And also ultimately it will slow down the decision making, and it will lead to the lack of accountability. So if you are going to a physical office, and if you are working in office, then we might get a chance to work with your team and build a good relationship with your team members, because we can have some casual chit chats on your lunch breaks and on your coffee breaks. And even sometimes we can talk to our customers as well. So in a physical environment, we can it will be easy to build a good relationship with our customers and with our team members. But in a virtual environment, we might have lots of meetings and discussions, but these meetings are just only for the work-related meetings. And so we might not get a chance to build a good relationship. And sometimes there are some situations like the team members, the individual team members' needs are different from the overall teamwork. So let's say there is a team member who needs more challenging work, and who needs to experiment on some new tools and technologies. But our client requirement is to use the same old technology. In that case, this team member might be demotivated, because the team member is not getting some challenging work. So these things can be easily identified in a physical environment than in a virtual environment. And also there are some team members who's coming from different backgrounds and who has different ideas and different perspectives. So these things also, it's a little bit challenging to identify these different behaviors and these different attitudes in a virtual environment. So when we build a trustworthy environment, there are 4 main things that we need to master. So these are competency, reliability, empathy, and integrity. So I will talk about each of these points in the next few slides. So when building our competency, first of all, we need to identify our competency level, and we can have a plan and plan for the training and hiring. So when identifying our competency level, we can, the easiest way to identify our competencies is to having feedback. So you can have the feedback from your colleagues and your leads, and even you can identify yourself what needs to be improved. And you can have some performance indicators. So for example, you can take the average time taken to resolve an issue. So you can take this as a key performance indicator, and you can evaluate each and every individual to resolve when they are resolving the similar kind of issues. And also we can give some online quizzes or online assessments to evaluate their competency level. And another way of identify competency is having the observations. So your managers can use observations to identify the key knowledge gaps. And also there is a performance review called 360-degree review. In this review method, we are taking inputs from different parties, like we are getting the feedback from our peers, our leads, managers, and even sometimes this involves customers as well. So when you get some quantitative data from these different people, then it will help you to identify and analyze what are the competencies we need to improve. And also another way of identifying competencies having performance benchmarks. For example, we can have the performance of the organization's top performers, and we can improve the other employees into that level. So when you identify these competency level, then we can make a plan to build these competencies. So when you are having this plan, you should give this plan for each and every individual. And in this plan, you should include and you should clearly mention what is the importance of having this plan, and what are the expectations from that, and what are the outcomes, and also you can give some timeline as well. So timeline also is very important when giving this plan. And you can use some online trainings, and there are some certification courses you can use to build your competency. And even you can make them mandatory within your organization. And also you can have some knowledge sharing sessions within the different teams and within the organization. Because there can be different team members who is working for different clients, and they are using different tools and technologies. So we can share this knowledge among different teams and within the organization. And also when you are hiring new people, you can ask adequate questions and make sure that they have the correct competency level for the company's expectations and also the client expectations. And once you identify these competencies and once you build them, then you can put your competency into work. So then you can help to your customers, and it will help to build the customer trust. So if I take some example from one of my experiences from the last couple of years. So I worked with a client who didn't have any quality engineers from their side, and their requirement is to automate their existing regression suite by using a using a new tool, and also by using a programming language which is new to me. So I haven't used this programming language before, and it is a new experience for me. So I straight away started working on that, studying on that new tool, and I started working on that project. But I faced lots of issues, and I thought these issues coming from this tool, because it is this tool is fairly new to the market, and there is less community support for that tool. But when I am analyzing why it is taking too much time, then I realized that the issue is not actually using this tool, but the actual issue is the lack of knowledge on that programming language. So then I started following on training course for that programming language, and I started to improve my knowledge on that area. So then I was able to resolve these issues much faster than before. And we successfully completed that project. And since we did that project successfully, the same customer gave us another project to build a solid test automation framework. So we did that, we implemented that framework as well. And also I had some team members who's working for different clients, but they also using the same programming language. So I was able to help them by using the experience which I gained from this client. So when you build these competencies, it will be mutually beneficial for the individuals as well as the organization. But when you are telling that to your customers, you should be wise when you ask in the time for your effort to build in this competency. Because if your customer is a very technical client, that they can understand, and we can explain them the importance of having this and building these competencies. But if you are dealing with a non-technical client, then they might not give you an extra time to build your competencies. In that scenario, you might have to work some extra hours to build your competencies, and you can apply it to your work. So when we talk about the client engagement, most of the time we are talking about how to be efficient and how to be productive. But we rarely talk about the reliability. But reliability is very important when building the customer trust. So reliability is not just about delivering the assigned task on time, but it also involves how you manage the work within the given timeline, and how to when to say no and when to ask for a help. And also it is very important to be consistent on your reliability, because if you need to build the trust, you should be consistent on your behaviors over time. And you can go for an extra mile if possible, even if your customer is not expecting it from you. And also you should be conscious on the impact of your work has on others. For example, let's say that one of your team members is waiting for you to complete some task because they have a dependency on your task and they are waiting for you to complete it to start their work. So you should be reliable, and you should complete your task on time. And if you feel like you cannot complete it within that given timeline, then you can ask for a help. So don't be shy to ask help if you need it. And also when you need to be reliable, you should be focused on your work. So in a physical environment or in a virtual environment, you will be there will be lots of distractions when you are focusing on some work. So to because for example, you might get a Slack notification or email notification, or sometimes your your team members might ask for a help. So in that case, you can, to overcome this challenge, you can have some focus hours on your calendar. So I also used to have some focus hours on my calendar. So on that time, no one will schedule any meetings or discussions on that time. So I can be focused and more productive on that time. And also you can have some specific time within the day to read your emails and your messages and reply to them. If you manage your work like that, then it will help you to focus on your work. And also sometimes your clients might not have strict deadlines, and you might have lots of free time of your work. So you can have some, you can give some deadlines to yourself, and you can complete it from these deadlines. And in that scenario, you can save some time, and you can use that time to learn something new, or you might help one of your team members. You can volunteer to help them if they are struggling on some task. So in that way, it will shows that you are not only responsible for your work, and you are responsible for the overall team performance and overall team reliability. And if you are reliable, that means you can work independently without direct involvement of your clients. And being consistently reliable will build the trust. So if I take an example from my experience, so I worked with a client who is very strict on the deadlines. And in the initial time of our engagement, that client asking lots of questions, are we on target? And we worked on 2 different time zones. So this customer, we had calls at night time, and we had calls every day, and this customer followed up much when in the initial stage. But after few weeks, when we were able to deliver the results, deliver their expectations on a consistent manner, then this customer reduced our meetings into once or twice a week. So that was a relief for us. And even if we made a mistake, this customer accepted it without any doubts, because we were reliable consistently. We maintained the consistently on our reliability. So, and another important thing to have when building the customer trust is empathy. So empathy means that the ability to understand someone else's perspective and someone else beliefs. So when you are empathetic, that means you have the ability to understand from others' perspective, and it will strengthen your ability to connect with the others. So it will improve improve your communication, and it will help to improve a good relationship with your team members, and overall it will make a good culture, working culture, and a positive working culture. So let's say that your customer is asking for you to work on a total new area. So in that case, you can ask from that customer what is the importance of having this feature in the system, and what are the things, what are the benefits of having this feature, and why we need this in our system. So if you ask these questions and clarify them, then you can understand from their perspective uh, of that feature. So then you can contribute, and you can be more creative when you are working on that project. So, and also when you are talking to different people, you should understand their emotional stage, and for the different situation, you can adjust your tone of voice, and you should be practice empathy within your team. And also, if you are talking to different clients, then you should adjust your language. So, for example, if you are talking to a very technical client, you can use some technical terms to explain some technical things to that client. But if you are working in a non-technical client, you can use some simple words when you are explaining some technical terms to that client. Yeah, so these things are important, and especially in a team, you should practice the empathy, and it will help you to build the overall team confidence and the trust, and it will help to build the team performance, and it will help you to have a good quality output from your team. So when you have a good quality output, then your customer will be happy, and you also happy, your team will happy, and then it will help to build the customer trust. So if I share some of my experiences, so some time back, one of my team members reached out to me and told that there is she's struggling something from the life, and this person told me that they are both of these person's parents are sick, and that person needs to have some time to take care of their parents. So I talked to the upper management, and I explained the situation, and I was able to help this person by releasing some of the meetings, some of the late night calls for that person. So, and also another incident happened with my junior member. So this team member was working on a critical client project, and suddenly this team member was unavailable, and that person didn't give a proper reason, or didn't mention anything, and suddenly that person is unavailable. So somehow in the same day we had a release as well, but somehow we were able to manage the work, and we delivered the customer expectations. But later on, we talked to that person privately, and by using empathy, we were tried to understand from that person's perspective, and we were able to help, and we advise how to communicate this and how to handle that kind of a situation, and we gave a chance to build these communication issues. So these things might not be beneficial in the short term, but it will be beneficial in the long term, because it will help to gain the employee retention as well. So another important point to have within the team is integrity. So integrity is not just about being honest and being respectful for your customers and for your team. So when you have the integrity, that means you are taking your responsibilities and you are taking your commitment seriously, and you are if you are not understand your responsibilities, you should be proactively ask questions and understand your responsibilities, and ultimately you should be accountable for your results. So it will be easy to take the responsibility if there is if something goes well, but the integrity is really comes into play when there is a mistake or when there is a failure. So in a situation like if you did some mistake or if there is a failure, then you should accept it, and you should apologize to your client, and you should make a plan to improve, and you should make sure that this same mistake won't happen again in this clients or any of your clients. And you can respect others by and you can show gratitude by showing by simply say thank you whenever you get some help from them, and you can praise them in publicly in your communication channels. And also it is always good to have feedback from your customers, and you can improve yourself and your team. And also it is always good to have personal relationship with your customers, but you should understand their boundaries as well. Because if you feel like your customer is uncomfortable when answering your questions, then you should make some boundaries, and you can change the topic and don't ask this kind of questions again from your clients. And also you can respect yourself, and you can make boundaries to yourself as well. For example, let's say you are getting a call when you are really focusing on some work, then you are getting a call from one of your friends. So you can make a boundary to yourself, and you can send a message, and you can take that call later, and you can finish your work. So, and also you should practice to say no if you can't commit, and you should apologize when needed. And so if I take an example from my experience, so I worked with a client who is very strict on the deadlines. And when I work in on this client project, I had some issues in the middle of the sprint, and it took me so long to complete and fix this issue, and to analyze this issue actually. But I was not able to fix it by myself. So I asked for help from my team members, but my team members also couldn't help me because they didn't have much idea on that area. So I was trying to fix it by myself, and it took me some time, and it actually delayed some of my other tasks as well. So at the end of the sprint, the client was unhappy how we handled this situation, and because of this issue, there is a delay on the other task as well. So what I learned from that situation, that incident is, if you are having any issues and if you are struggling on some task more than 1 hour or 2 hour, then you can ask for a help. But if your team members also cannot help you, then you can escalate it to your customer and you can ask someone that can help to you. And yeah, and also you can move on to the next task until you get a proper answer for that issue. And once you get a proper solution, then you can work on that task and you can complete it. So when you practice these small things, then it will help to build the customer trust. And for all these areas which I have discussed, the communication is the key. So these are some communication skills and tips that you can take when you working with your clients. So first of all, we need to improve our listening skills. We should listen carefully when you are having some conversation with your customer, and don't think about the answers when you are listening, and that way you can pay more attention to your customers. And also when you are explaining something, you should be clear and stick to the main points. And also you should always have a positive attitude and be respectful for other people's ideas, because even if you don't like their ideas, you can respect and you can listen carefully and be patient, and you can ask questions and clarify any doubts, and you try to understand from their perspective why they need to have that idea. And also you can use your body language when you have the discussions. So especially when you are working in a remote environment, it's always good to turn on your video and use your body language and try to understand your customer's body language as well. And also when you are explaining something, be confident on what you are saying, because that will help the other person to trust on you and rely on you. And you can always be a active listener, so you can always ask questions and clarify the doubts. And at the end of your meetings, you can summarize what you have discussed. And after the meetings, you can send out an email with all the discussion points and the action items which you have taken during your meetings. That way, it will help to make sure that you and your customer are on the same page. So if I summarize the things which we have discussed, so these are the key pillars that we need to improve when building the customer trust. So I hope that it will help you to build or overcome your challenges when the challenges you faced when working in a remote environment. And I hope you will take something out of it. Yeah, thank you all, and thank you, Ruvani, and thank you, DCLK, to giving me this opportunity to talk about this topic and share some of my experiences. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Thilini. That was a wonderful presentation, and I think really timely. I can see, across the industry, there's been a lot of discussion about this building trust in the remote environment, and, both with our clients and within our teams as well. Both are really important. So really timely. Thank you for all this information that you shared with us. I think it'll be useful for a lot of people. So with that, we'll close this session. And thank you again, Thilini, for the wonderful session on building trust.
Thank you.